Hello, my name is David Hill, and I'm a lifelong resident of Maryland. I'm running for this election because I'm very concerned about the fiscal situation of our country. I look at Washington, I see a total lack of fiscal discipline with most of our leaders. I find they're completely unrealistic, and they don't even have a budget, and their lack of wherewithal to even try any fiscal discipline. Other issues I'm very concerned about is immigration, tax reform. I'd like to see national IDs, and I'd like to see us, I think it's time to wrap up Afghanistan and just be done with that. There's nothing more left really to be gained there at all. Thank you. Of course, welfare spending doesn't work because the level of poverty in this country hasn't gotten any better. It's gotten worse. Welfare spending is a crutch. It really disappoints me they made the unemployment insurance 2 years because sadly I had a ex-coworker come in the other day and he said, yeah, I'm collecting my 2 years unemployment, I'm going to work under the table. It's disappointing to hear people ride the system. And if you make a system to ride, people will ride it. And it's really sad that really what the government is just a shell game of money, taking money from one person and giving it away to someone else because of an arbitrary set of rules that the government has put in place in the system. It's better to help people with education than welfare checks, is what I believe. Thank you. I think if you read the Constitution, there's one part in there that says to promote the general welfare. I guess we could say that high educational standards would promote the general welfare of our country. I think the premise behind No Child Left Behind is an excellent idea. The problem is of setting standards. The problem is the government doesn't set any standards. It leaves that to the states. And some states will, let's just say, put the hurdle ankle high. I think the government should step in and have across-the-board standards for that. I think everyone always talks about going to college. As a person that has a college degree and a vo-tech degree, I can tell you that the vo-tech degree gave me more skills to enter the workforce than the actual college education did. I seem to think that the middle jobs that are still available in the vo-tech fields cannot be offshored. As a mechanic, elevator operator, boiler maker, nurses, these things can't be offshored, and that more emphasis should be given on toward in the middle of the vo-tech educational system. Thank you. There is no energy policy in this country. If you don't know, we have actually 12 formulas of gas. There's 6 summer and 6 winter. We're in the eastern part, and as you mentioned, 2 refineries closed down. That's 20% of the output on the eastern district. You cannot switch your gas formulas back and forth. We take in oil in this district from Brent North Sea, and actually West Intermediate crude is about 15-20 bucks a barrel cheaper, and it's easier to deal with. Those refineries closed down because they're using more expensive to refine into gasoline. The energy policy of this country is pray it shows up. There's no proactive nature in finding more. They talk about offshore drilling. They don't do it. In fact, Obama turned it off for a year after the BP spill. Keystone Pipeline was an absolute no-brainer. Canada's a nice, friendly neighbor to the north, but no, we want to import it from unfriendly people and give them profits. I find that wrong. Thank you. When you talk about the great immigration wave at the turn of the century, in 1900, this country had 76 million people. We now have 312 million. Do you really need any more people? I think it's all full up and we have the skills and the things we need. Right now, no one knows how many illegal immigrants we have. 10 million, that's Belgium. 15, that's Holland. 19, that's Australia. How many people do we need extra living here? I'd like to see national identification cards, a combination of your Social Security card, which is completely unsecure. It's a little blue piece of paper. And some people, there's up to 50 people working on a number that they have obtained illegally. National IDs, I think, would be an excellent job because basically the E-Verify system completely doesn't work. And a national ID with a computer chip embedded with biometric data in it would basically, like Alabama is doing now, if you pass the rules and enforce immigration reform, it just takes care of itself when they just leave themselves. Thank you. I'd totally take the tax system, blow it up, and start again. I'd like to see a progressive flat tax. I I lived in Japan for many years, and they actually had this system. It was beautiful. You filled out an I-9, the only deductions were for your spouse and your children. At the end of the year, you got a W-2, and basically you just rounded off the numbers, and you either owed $100 or you gave them $200. They took it automatically out of the bank account that you had to have, and it took me 5 seconds to do my taxes. It was on a card about this big. You signed it, and you were done. It was great. It doesn't have to be that hard. The government purposely makes it hard to hide special interests, tax breaks. The system's really complicated. It takes hours to do your tax reform when it shouldn't. I'd like to see all income treated equally, whether it's capital gains, carried interest, the hedge fund managers, wages on W-2, tips, or whatever. I think it should all just be taxed at one level and then said and be done. That's it. You can make it progressive, and you can make the level go up with income, and I think that would be extremely fair. Thank you. Social Security is, not to insult it, a Ponzi scheme. Ponzi scheme requires you to pay more money in than as more money is given out. It's just a transfer. There's no investment. The money is not invested. You have no account with your name on it. You just take your money now and you give it to a person down the street. I thought it was extremely irresponsible that they cut this system. They cut the rate on this system last year or two, and then we did that. Since 1935 in Social Security, they've run a surplus every year, and that was until last year when they cut the rate from 6.4 to 4.1. I thought that was horrible, and it degrades the Social Security system. Social Security has $2.5 trillion of our debt, and actually Social Security holds that, and that is the cushion when the Ponzi scheme goes negative. They've sped that up greatly to the destruction of Social Security, and at 38 years old, I really don't expect to get any of it. Thank you. No, that's cool. Actually, sadly, one of the reasons you're paying a high gas price is actually because of Iran. Iran is the #2 oil producer in the world at the moment, and right now the sanctions that have gone in are actually excellent. The Europeans, the French, and the Italians were 25%, bought 25% of their oil and have stopped taking it. If we can get Japan and South Korea to stop, that'll be another 30%. And basically who's left is China, and basically they'll get huge discounts because no one will touch that toxic stuff. Unfortunately, this drives the price up for us. I think a lot's probably being done behind the scenes that we don't know about. We've seen several of their scientists killed. Interestingly enough, the Stunex virus is taking care of them, and I think if you can prolong it out as far as you can, I think the tide is turning against autocratic governments in the Middle East, and we've seen that. If you can hold out, I think their election is another 2 years, and Ahmadinejad has already had his 2 terms and be gone. I think they'll get a much more favorable government soon if we can hold out long enough. The problem with government unions is that the government sets their wages and gives them away, usually to buy their votes, but yet they're the employer. The government's real employer is the American people, and they don't get a vote on the wages and the conditions that the union gets to negotiate against. Government unions, I just don't see where some of the people that are on the union and the government even need. It's not like these are sweatshop jobs that they're working at and the working conditions are horrible. I just don't see the need for the union to be so pervasive. The union has retreated in the private sector greatly, as I just think the union is just a middleman and is not really necessary in the modern age. You can say the union gave you the 40-hour work week, but most of those rules are now codfied, and there's really, I don't think the industrial age is over, and the unions don't really have much of a need. Thank you. I'm in this election for one reason, because I'm an extreme fiscal conservative. There just aren't enough of them in the Congress today. Maybe a quarter of them can call themselves true fiscal conservatives. And there just needs to be more people that understand the level of the magnitude that we have gotten to in this government. The writing's on the wall. It's grease. If you want to continue down this path, unsustainable spending, large entitlement reforms, and these things, it's just a destructive path, and we've already seen the end. And I don't think a lot of these people in the Congress realize this and are actually really fighting to take control and actually doing what's necessary. They're at The deficit for the last couple of years has been $1.2 trillion. It was only, well, it was 400, which was abysmal when Obama came in and he said he wanted to have it in 4 years. He tripled it for 3. It's sad. Most of the people in Congress are lawyers, about 75% of them. I think they're represented quite well there. I don't think normal people, me myself, I'm a motorcycle mechanic, but I think you don't find the middle class really represented very well as an actual person in Congress. There's no firefighters, nurses, engineers, accountants, and the people that really make this country work. Me and myself, I have very interesting experiences. I know the tax code quite well, as I did tax accounting for 2 years in one of those nice little strip mall places where people come and the only words out of their mouth are income credit. The tax system, I've seen it just abused monumentally, and I know how that it can be fixed. I also lived in a country, Japan, and 2 of the striking things I saw with it was 2 systems that worked, one quite well and one quite the opposite. One is they had a flat tax system. It was very simple. It was very easy to do. Basically, I didn't even do anything. It was automatically taken care of. All the money that you made was paid out at a certain rate. I believe it's 10%. And at the end of the year, your W-2, you squared up with the government, you stamped it, you were done. It really doesn't have to be that complicated, and it can be quite fair. The other one I saw was the national health care system. I believe Obamacare is basically the chimera. It's really, the goal is a single-payer national health care system. And I lived in Japan for 7 years and I saw it, and it was an abysmal system. And it's a system. And no matter what system you put out there, people will ride that system for the benefit of themselves. In this system, particularly, Japanese doctors were allowed to sell medicine directly, not necessarily of an independent pharmacy. So guess what? What country sells more drugs than any other to their patients? It's, of course, Japan. This system was not cheap. I paid about $5,000 on a $40,000 income, and it's not free at all when they leave out the 30% copay. So it's not the greatest system in the world. Thank you.